good evening, and welcome to another edition of Talk About Watches Live. My name is Tim. My pleasure tonight to welcome Craig Hester to the show, and we're going to be delving into two brands for you this evening. One is DELTAt, and the other is Meccanica Grezza. And I know that for some of you, both of those brands are going to be fairly new to, I never heard of these. So we'll delve into some detail. DELTAt tends to specialize more in very interesting dive watches. Meccanica Grezza, and I know I'm butchering that name because it's Italian. They're a boutique brand that is nothing short of spectacular in my view. They produce pieces of which no more than 3 will ever exist for the world. We've been working with these guys on and off for quite some time now, along with Craig, and we've got the deal put together, and you guys have and to me this is exciting. You have the opportunity, and at a discount, to own a genuinely rare watch. And that's not misusing the word rare when there's literally only 3 in the world. So there's obviously things we're going to delve into tonight, and I'm very excited to get into them along with Craig. So let's talk about a couple of other things up front here. First of all, especially to those of you who are new to us, first of all, welcome. Glad you guys are along. Secondly, if you haven't yet joined our email list, you absolutely should. First of all, we're not going to spam you. We hate spam too, so we'll never do that. And it's a way to get the early notice, the advance notice, and some of the best deals that we put together literally every day of the year. But also, subscribers to that list get access to a closed Facebook group. And it's at your discretion. You don't have to be in there. But if you are, you're going to get advance notice on everything, ahead of the email, ahead of any other blast that we do, anything else. And in some of these pieces that we get in, like some of the new old stock, and in the case of Meccanica, pieces of which only 3 in the world and so on, it's an opportunity by which you have access ahead of everybody else at the final price, the best price, and so on. So great reasons to be on the email list. Another thing I want to mention very quickly is PayPal credit. Now, if you look at the watches tonight, they're going to be a great example. Because if your purchase is $100 or more and you qualify for PayPal credit, you have 6 months of interest free. Now, a lot of you guys know the term 6-pay and stuff like that. This is even more flexible than that. If you want to divide it up into 6 equal payments, great, do it. But if you need to take a month off, you can. Or if you want to double down on a month, you can. Or if you just want to wait, pay it all off at the end, you can. There's great flexibility. And as long as you pay it off before the due date, there is no interest of any kind. And it's not a layaway. We're still going to send you that watch in just a very few days. So check it out. It'll be the last thing, in other words, the last page when you are checking out at talkaboutwatches.com. You'll see the option for PayPal credit. You just click that. When you qualify, you are good to go. All right, that stated, let's get underway and welcome Craig Hester to the show. Check it out. Well, hey everybody, as promised, Craig Hester joining us tonight. Craig, a lot to talk about, obviously. I want to delve into the Berlin Wall a little bit, DELTAt, of course, and then the star of the show tonight, Meccanica Grezza. Before we do, though, if you don't mind, prior to us putting together this show tonight, you were talking a bit about the that luxury watch box we got a few of, and I was wondering if you'd care to comment on that briefly.
You know that I don't remember where I first saw it. I think you posted it up on Facebook, maybe when I first saw it, and I sent you a message. Like 2 minutes? I was like, oh my gosh, this thing is beautiful. I mean, well, I like exotic woods anyway. I mean, you and I are both fans of exotic woods. And I really thought that thing was just gorgeous. I actually may pick one up from you. And I can't imagine. I mean, after seeing the video, and I can't imagine, anybody getting that and just not being blown away, when they get it home. It's just a phenomenal piece. I wish I'd see one in person. Like I said, I'd be happy. Feel free to send me one.
Well, I had to go get one for me, and then that's it. But if I give you that, then I have none. So then I have to deal with that problem. For those of you who haven't seen this yet, this is 5 exotic veneers, all solid wood construction. Shipping weight on one of these is about 13 pounds, and that's the single. But here's the thing, is we're obviously taking you through the video tour here at the moment, is not only is it superbly packaged because it is a true luxury box, these things sell for $525 a piece at full market. And if you're reserving it for TAW, you can get a single for $279. And if you double down on that, you can get a pair of these at $399. Each of them holds 20 watches. Each slot holds a 62 millimeter watch, and you can actually spin it 90 degrees and get over 70 millimeter. And I really did get one for me. In fact, the one that is in the video is literally mine. and it's an absolute showcase. You can certainly check, for example, the Talk About Watches page on Facebook. People are posting the pictures of theirs as they receive them. It's an amazing box. So I did want to delve into that here briefly at the opening because this is well worth your while. And not only is this a luxury item, it is one of the best, it's one of the healthiest things you can possibly do for your watch collection because it stores them properly. One of the ways that people really damage their collection, usually unintentionally, is storing the watches improperly. It's, you know, shoved in a drawer or whatever, and they end up scratching each other. It's just not a healthy way to do it. You've got a great investment going in these extraordinary timepieces. Take care of them. And a lot of watch boxes, of course, they're made, you know, like the particle board or plastic or whatever. Those are the kind you basically hide and get out of the way. This is one you literally can showcase in any room. Padded base, fits on the furniture. Not well, fits, yes, but it doesn't scratch it. It's a smart buy. Okay, I got into that a little bit more, but I'm actually very excited to show that to you because this is a product everyone will love when they get it home. And I actually am very fortunate, and you can certainly speak to this too, Craig, on the show. When we bring out products, I can't wait for people to get them because these are products that people are absolutely going to love. And I'm going to use that as a segue to get to the Berlin Wall. First of all, I got to say kudos, Craig, to watch this. You know, we're going back a few days now. How this thing rocketed north of 50 units reserved in a pre-order in almost no time at all.
Yeah, we were. I mean, I felt pretty good about this, as you know, Tim. I mean, you know me.
Sure.
I'm all very cautiously optimistic about anything, and you never know. I mean, you know, many times I've had watches that we brought into our collection, you know, we got ready to sell, and the one I think is going to be the hot item ends up being the dud, and the one I looked at and went, that'll never sell, is the one that takes off. So you never know. But so far the response has been phenomenal. I told you on Friday. We were setting up the website, pramsius.com, and we hadn't even loaded the product yet. We had set up the front page where you could see the general information about the watch and everything, but we hadn't loaded the product. And my web guy who does all the work and loading everything, getting everything set up, he let me know, okay, look at the product, and I checked everything and made sure that everything was correct. And he said, all right, and I signed off. He said, I'm gonna load it now. So he loaded it. And like 10 minutes later, we had not announced it to anybody. We hadn't told anybody that the site was live. 10 minutes later, I suddenly get a notification of an order, and I'm thinking it was an order on like R2A watches like we normally get. And I looked, somebody had already bought. So this guy had to be like sitting there hitting the refresh button. Yeah, how excited he was, you know, to be the first order. So yeah, the response has been phenomenal. I don't have the prototypes are actually off from here right now, still being used for some other things. We're actually going to have a review by Microbrand Watch World. So they've got some of the prototypes, and then we've got them somewhere else. But I know you have footage that Sebastian can show and show the watch. And so keep your eye out on Kickstarter as well, because that is going to take over the pre-orders when that starts. But I think the really big news you and I want to share tonight, Tim, other than the fact that it did get a great start, I mean, it just taken off like a rocket so far, is that you and I are, and Martin Radkai, who is the editor of Wristwatch Annual. By the way, we were in Wristwatch Annual last year with Pramsius. It's a rare honor for such a small new brand to make it into Wristwatch Annual. And we're going to be again in the 2019 edition. So Martin's coming with us. We're going to Berlin before Basel, and we're going to visit the artists at the East Side Gallery. We're going to go to Checkpoint Charlie. We're going to go to the Brandenburg Gate. We're going to get video. We're going to get photos. Those of you who don't know, Tim is a professional photographer as well. So he's going there as our photographer for this. And we are going to put up real-time updates on Kickstarter and on Facebook and on Pramsius.com. And we've never done anything like this before. So we're really excited that we were able to coordinate the trip to Berlin at the same, while everything is active and going on with so forth. So yeah, I'm feeling really good about it. I'm trying to stay cautiously optimistic, but hopefully it's going to be a big success.
I'm very optimistic. I think this is going to be one of the wristwatches to own in 2018. I know I'm personally going to be owning one of these. I think the concept is amazing. I think it's brilliant. And by the way, Talk About Watches is also going to be doing live updates from the Berlin Wall. and not just from the pending trip, but also when we get back. We'll keep you guys updated as to the process, because if all goes well, the official premiere, obviously after pre-orders, is going to be here with talkaboutwatches.com. So it's a very cool thing. So that's what's going on there. Again, with the email list that we do, we'll keep you updated, of course, with that. So you can join, and our email is always free, and we don't spam you, so you should be there. All right, let's talk about DELTAt. And Craig, one of the places I like to start is, I think it's fair to say that not everyone is necessarily going to know DELTAt. I'll take myself as an example. I'm aware it exists, but I didn't really know that much really about it as such. What do you think are like the top one or two things that somebody who is getting into DELTAt should be aware of?
Well, it's a micro brand, just like us, just like
Right.
Ramsey. Certainly much more micro than most of the other watch brands that we deal with. Certainly would have no near the volume of, say, a Vostok Europe or a Stramansky or someone like that. You know that even long before we decided to launch our own micro brand, that I've always been a fan of micro brands. I have micro brand watches in my personal collection. And really what happened, we've been doing business with them certainly more than 2 years, maybe coming up on 3. I saw one of their watches on Facebook. This was the Sora collection, which is their pilot watches, which kind of have that World War II feel about them. And I really liked the watch. I liked the packaging. I liked what they were doing. So I sent an email to their company and reached out to their founder owner, Hiro Chang, and I asked him if he was looking for a distributor in the U.S. and he was. And so we started working with them. They have an eclectic mix of watches. Again, another thing that I like, you know, that part of our idea behind Ramsey is that you're not going to be able to necessarily pigeonhole us into one category. You can say the same thing about Hero. He has pilot watches, he has dive watches, he has that crazy, the NBS, which is this huge, massive timepiece that they made. He even has special ones made where it looks like a landscape on the watch, and it looks like where the Wright brothers were landing their plane, and other similar examples to that. So they're unusual timepieces. Actually, it's interesting. He has some that are very much in a lot of ways, your traditional pilot watch style, or traditional more dress style. And then he has the really outlandish. I mean, the NBS is an outlandish watch, and this one that we're looking at tonight is his newest model called the Heavy Armor. Nobody would classify this as a simple mainstream watch, and that's going to make more sense when we get into it. They are based in Hong Kong. Hiro's he's a young guy, at least from my perspective. He's a young guy who he loved watches, and he just wanted to get into the watch business. He wanted to create his own brand. DELTAt, change, T for time, so change of time. He wanted to do this, and he was one of the early adapters into the Kickstarter. Well, he actually started his first one on Indiegogo. So I guess the better way to say it is he was an early adapter to crowdfunding. And they successfully funded their first watch there. This one was funded on Kickstarter successfully, and they just came out. This is a diver from DELTAt, again, called the Heavy Armor. And the reason that it's called that, well, first of all, Tim, is that anything else you want to know? I mean, does that give you a basic overview you're comfortable with there?
Absolutely. I mean, in doing my research for tonight's show, I mean, one of the things I was immediately impressed by is if you even casually start to delve into DELTAt, they actually set out to build not only different watches, but let's just take dive watches. They actually refer to their dive watch concepts as works of art. I can't recall another company that was so upfront about doing something like that, and I thought it was really cool, which brings us to this model, because I'm just speaking for me. I mean, I've seen a lot of great dive watches over the years, and you look at some of the monster brands that do them. I started to say Breitling, but I guess they're more of a pilot's watch. But the point is, basically dive watches have more or less been in this one kind of a look-alike genre. And you'll see some that have sapphire, some that do ceramic, and so on. But you look at it and go, this is a dive watch. But to me, what's brilliant about this is it takes all the tech of the dive watch, but then it brings in this whole concept of art and actual human interaction with it. I think it's really cool.
I do too. They actually won. I don't remember the name of it, but the NBS actually won a design award not too long ago.
I bet it did.
And I, unfortunately, it's the name of it, the Iron something. It's not on the tip of my tongue. The thing that made, and oddly enough, Tim, if you'll recall, you didn't realize we actually were their we're their distributor in the U.S. And you sent me a picture of this watch saying, "Can you get this watch for Talk About Watches?" And I said, "I think I can, since I'm already the distributor for the brand." And I want to quickly, and before I get into into what makes this watch special, I'm going to quickly show you there are 8 different executions of the heavy armor, but we picked 3 for tonight's show. We will do others if these do well, which we absolutely expect them to do. We will bring out other color executions, but we did 3 for tonight. There's the blue, and it is a radiant blue with the surgical grade stainless steel case. And then we picked the green, which is this rich, radiant sunray green with the black PVD case. And then the red with the black PVD and the red PVD on so it was the green on the crown. They have the matching PVD and within the rotating bezel. Now, normally these are the regular retail on them is $850 for the stainless, $900 for the black PVD. We're going to do one price tonight, so you guys don't have to pick. You don't have to choose between plating and so forth. It's going to be $679 as an intro price here at Talk About Watches, and Tim will get into how you do that in a minute. But let me tell you what makes this watch special. It's called the Heavy Armor. The first thing you'll notice is that the bezel is quite wide, which that alone makes this watch look different than most dive watches. And this is, not surprisingly, it's a 120-click unidirectional rotating bezel. But what makes the Heavy Armor cool, and I had to tell you, Tim, I've never seen this before. I don't know if you have. But what they did is they created this system, let me get the red one, where these plates that are on the bezel can be swapped out.
I love this.
You really have more than one watch, because I got to tell you, and I know we'll show some of the shots and we've got some video, but I'm not going to make an attempt to change this out, showing this live, as I'll fumble about and it'll eat up too much showtime. But we have an animation of how you change them out. I'm sure you'll cue that up. So let me make one thing clear. The example you're going to get tonight. Here's the red with the alternative red bezel, and then here's the green with the alternative green.
This is really cool.
Yeah, I know. And then there's the blue with the alternative blue. Okay, you're going to get one extra set. So you're basically getting 2 sets. So you're going to have the one that's on the watch, and you're going to get 1 extra set. There are additional sets for purchase. By the way, Tim, I'll check and see if we could actually make those available.
Oh, that would be awesome. I would love to carry these.
So you can buy them as an upsell, that you can get another one. I want to be clear that the $679 package includes the one extra set. You would have to buy the additional sets that match with the watch. But it's so cool because you can mix and match. You change you completely change the look of the watch when you change these plates out, and that's why they called it the Heavy Armor. And it comes with a little tool system. It's actually a very specific little head on the screw that fits perfectly here. You remove the plates and change them out. You don't have to do a whole swap. You could have half of it be one thing and be a different one. But so you're never going to get bored with this watch because you always got something different. And it's amazing how much, just imagine. You've got this one here. Let's look at the red one. It's a really good example. You've got the numbered bezel here, okay, that's on the watch. When you change it out with that full red like that, it's going to be a completely different looking watch. It's just it's like having, it's actually more than just 2 watches in one, because again, you could do this. You can leave the 2 right there with just the first set of numbers, and you could change out the others with the full color ones.
It just comes down to the creativity and something that, again, when I was reading some of the original writings from the creator of DELTAt, he was actually calling out watches as being static, and he was so candid about it that it was almost abrupt. And then I thought, well, you know what, that guy's really got a point, because almost every watch on the planet, whatever color, that's what it is. And what he did is he said, let's take all the tech and the intrigue that goes into a dive watch, but now let's bring human interaction and art into the process. And all of a sudden you can go, you know what, I just want that one plate to do this today. And all of a sudden the watch is fresh anytime you need it to be. I think it's an outstanding idea.
And let's, real quick, it is surgical grade stainless steel, of course. It is a sapphire crystal. It's 1,000 meter water resistant, or 100 ATM. So that's a serious dive. You know, I mean, a dive watch professional grade dive watch quality starts at 200 meter at 20 ATM. This is a 100 ATM or 1,000 meter water resistant dive watch. So that's a serious dive watch. It has the automatic helium release valve. It's a 44 millimeter case. It wears, it's interesting. In some ways it wears big, and in other ways, because the dial is not as big, it doesn't. And a lot of that depends on which color scheme you put on it. You actually change the look of it in terms of size on your wrist, depending upon which color scheme you put on it. Because, like, again, I keep going back to the red one, but I really love the choice that comes with this one with the all red in there. But, you know, when you put that all red, let me do this way so you can just see them right beside each other here. When you put that all red on there, that's going to make it look like a bigger watch because you've got more color filling out the whole watch. It's 14 millimeters thick. So it's not, you know, it's for the guys who like really, really big watches. This is not it. I mean, it's a solid size. I mean, to me, a 44 is a very good size. It's comfortable. It's not too big. It's not too small. It's kind of a Goldilocks size. And it also comes with an additional nylon strap. It comes on the great silicone, and then it comes with an additional nylon with a matching color scheme, either with the green or you've got the blue. And this is actually on a leather upper with the nylon, so it's not a traditional NATO. It is actually connects to the watch in the traditional fashion of going between the lugs. It doesn't go all the way underneath the watch like a NATO or a Zulu would. And then, as always, as DELTAt always does, it's great packaging. This really cool. It actually comes with a strap, so you can have this as like a carrying case. The watch is here, the two straps, and this is where you have the secondary set of plates that go on the bezel. He always does for his limited edition numbers and his warranty card. It's a nice heavy metal plate. Just, you know, there's a great attention to detail. You know what I mean. You can set your
Craig, the innovation is never going to come from a mainstream build, I think, with rarest exception. You know, who am I huge fans of right now? Nord-Zeit machine. You can't say that that's mainstream. Devon Tread 1, MB&F, Uworks. I'm drawing a blank on some of the other. Quinting would be another. All right, none of this is mainstream. These are guys that said, we're going to create some crazy stuff, and we love it. And we hope that other people do. But in the course of that, they actually took horology watches to another level. And this guy is doing it, but he isn't charging, you know, like 10, 15, 20 grand or whatever. I mean, this guy is bringing in a product that can actually list for at and even under $1,000. And with our partnership, we can bring the price down. I mean, this is to me is exciting. This is innovation that's really being made accessible to everybody.
And can still do it at an affordable price point.
Exactly.
So,
Craig,
again,
do me a favor if you would. Can we walk through the color options again, and then we need to get to a timeout, and we'll come back with the Meccanica.
Yeah, I was actually just going to say, I think I'll run back through. So we've got the blue. So it's this nice sunray blue, and then it's going to have the alternative plating that you see here. Actually, that Hero, did you mess up and send me the same plating twice? You may have. Anyway, there'll be an alternative plating. Or I may have pulled it from a wrong box, which is certainly plausible. Then the green.
This is why we're live.
Yes, I know. The green will have the alternative green, and that's with the black PVD. And again, they're all $679. The PVD plating should actually be more, but we flattened out the pricing so that you don't have to choose between the PVD and the stainless. And then there's the red with the red PVD. So
these are very cool.
It's a very cool
really
watch.
are.
You're gonna when you get it home, the weight, the feel, you're gonna see just how really cool. And this is not gonna look like anything else in your collection.
And it's you know, I celebrate the difference. I think it's very, very cool. All right, here's what's going to happen. We're going to take a really quick time out. And when we come back, and it's only going to be like 60 seconds, when we come back, we're going to talk about a genuinely rare watch. And that's a term that is horribly overused in watches, but used properly tonight, this one is rare. So take a look at this exciting newsreel footage, and we will be back right after this.
The initial time period after touchdown, we went through various sequences to prepare us for immediate abort or liftoff if we found that that was necessary. We found we had to vent the fuel and oxidizer manifolds a good bit earlier than this blended as we looked more cross-sun to a more sharper, well-defined features and more of a gray color. You see, most of the craters have rounded edges. However, there is a variation in the age of these, as we can tell by the sharpness of the edge of the crater.
Okay, we're back, and I have been looking forward to being able to present this watch for a very long time, and I'm thrilled that tonight is the night. First of all, I need to open by telling you that, and I'll just do it now, I'm going to open this box, and I'm going to show it like this. And you'll see me reference this from time to time on tonight's show, but I'm not even going to take it out because this is the only one left in the world. So I will tell you it has been out of the box to create some of the footage. I know over the last couple of weeks that I put some up for you guys so you could see it, and some of the cutaways that we're going to do for you tonight. But I have to say that honestly, it's not the first time that I've held a watch of which there was only one left in the world, but it is a total rush to be able to do it. So I'm going to be treating this very, very carefully. So I'm going to turn you guys over to Craig, and we're going to delve into a brand that I'm very excited that has come, courtesy of Craig and our partnership, to TAW, and that is Meccanica Grezza. Check this out.
So, Tim, it's where to start with how
right?
cool this is.
It's true.
It's a brand you can obviously tell by the name is based in Italy. And we met, meaning I did last year, with them at Basel and fell in love with their watches. And we've been trying for the last year to figure out, where we could put the brand and what we could do with it. As I get further into this explanation, you're going to understand that this isn't a watch for everywhere, and it's not a watch that you would, you're not going to find this watch on, World of Watches ever. Okay, just as an example, and I'm not criticizing World of Watches. I'm just saying, it's a gentleman named. Now, by the way, my Italian is about as good as my Russian, which is no better than my Polish. So I am not going to say most of this stuff correctly, but Flavio Arata, and I probably just butchered his name, is the owner of this brand. He's actually an architect by trade, who another gentleman, similar to what we were talking about with Hero and after my own heart, who just loves watches, and he started this as a sideline because he wanted to build really cool watches the way he wanted to build them. And there's a number of things in his collection, but we're only going to talk about one set of watches tonight, and we're only talking about two particular ones. As Tim said, he is holding the only one left in the world of that watch. Now, you guys have heard me say that before, different times, different things I've done. This is the last one. But never, ever have I said to you, this is the last one, and it started with only 3.
Exactly.
So if you pick up this watch tonight, now I want to be clear right up front, and Tim will say the same thing. This is not an inexpensive timepiece, okay? But for what it is an inexpensive timepiece.
That is my exact take, Craig. Because I've seen pieces of which there were only 10 and only 5. But honestly, most of those have been serious 5 figures, 6 figures, and rare occasions 7-figure watches. The fact that, let's talk price here for a second. Interestingly enough, the retail on this does fluctuate slightly based on currency exchange, but the closest we can come up right now to keep everything fair, it's about $4,199 US is where this is listing at. The fact that we can do this, I think it's $28.90, I believe. Correct?
$28.99.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you guys have a price break on a watch that there are 3 of these that exist, and for the record, this is the one that I believe in Italian that Leonardo da Vinci, which is the topic of this. He called it the air screw. It became, in the modern era, the helicopter. There's an argument to be made as the airplane. They only made 3 of these dials, and that's what Craig is about to get into. 2 of those have already been sold, so literally the one on the show is the only one that that remains. And I'm going to be very sorry to actually see that go, because that was one of my favorite designs, to be honest, and I'm not going to get one.
So let me explain. Well, first of all, again, you're getting a watch, and I'm going to explain what that means and what that's all about in terms of the low number. You're getting, so there's only 3 in the world, and you're getting it for under $3,000. Now, I know that $28.99 is not something everybody can drop on a watch. But if you've ever thought, if you're going to do a cost value equation analysis, to sound like an economist here, if you've ever thought about dropping close to $3,000 on a watch, you will not regret doing it on this particular timepiece. So now let's tell the story. Tim, you got the shot of the artist, right? And his name just escaped me, but he's Flavio, who owns Meccanica Grezza. He's working with an artist in Italy who hand paints these dials. Now, I want to make this clear. Each one is individually hand painted. There is nothing mass produced here. Of course, for free, it couldn't be mass produced. But I mean, it's not like even that he did one and then there was a printing of
it'd be silk screened or something.
Yeah, the silk screen. No, they're each individually hand painted. Okay, so they're scrolling on the back. They're hand signed with a scrolling tool. Meccanica Grezza, it translates basically to mechanical rough, which, as Flavio goes out of his way to say, it's not a great translation because it makes it sound like it's a rough piece, and it's not. What it means is working in the rough, and what that means is that it's building something where you actually can physically see everything you're doing while you're building the product. And I would compare this to hand building a Rolls Royce. Okay, and that's part of why, in some ways, the cases, which again, Tim's not going to take it out of the box because we don't want to risk hurting this one-of-a-kind timepiece. And by the way, even though there are 3 made, they're all one-of-a-kind because he's never going to be able to exactly duplicate the same hand painting from one dial to the next, even though he's doing the same subject matter. Okay, so if you look at the case, it's a fairly simple barrel-style case that Meccanica Grezza uses. And that's so that everything can actually be handmade and be hand-finished. The strap, when you look at the strap configuration and how it's put back on the watch, that strap is handmade. All the pieces that hold the strap into place are handmade. This is a certified Swiss-made timepiece. It has the 2824. The movement you know and love. The 2824 is in there. 44 millimeter case, surgical grade stainless steel. All those things, but that's not the story. The story is, the quality's there. Period. That we don't even have to, just take that for granted. The story is you've got an Italian artist who is hand painting. And there's only 3 for the world. Now, I do want to clarify something, and I'll be honest with you. Tim and I were both confused about this in the beginning. You're going to see a number on the back, and it might be number 32 out of 50 or whatever. Or it might be number 21 out of 89. And you're going to be like, wait a minute, you told me there was only 3 made for the world. Well, the way they do this, there is a version of this watch available for considerably less that has a plain dial on it. Okay, so he built those. And then the artist picks the number from that limited edition that he likes, that strikes his fancy for whatever reason. Maybe he likes number 32 or 48 because he just likes those 2 numbers. And then he pulls 3 out of that series, and those are the ones that he paints. Tonight we have the air screw, which Tim was talking about.
Right, that's the one on set with me.
Right, and we have the wing. Now I want you to understand. Tim is holding the last one in the world. If you buy the air screw, the helicopter, whatever you want to call it, if you pick that up, you're going to get the one that Tim is holding in his hand. Then the other option, the wing, there's only 2 left in the world of that one. So how many times ever with anything do you get the opportunity to be that you and only 2 other people in the world I mean, how many? What, we got 7 billion people on the planet at this point? I don't know, something like that. It's a crazy number. You and only 2 other people in the world are going to ever, you're not going to ever run into the other guy who owns this watch. You're never going to, this isn't going to be like wearing the same dress to the party, okay? You're never going to run into the other guy unless your brother buys it. You guys go in together or something. So that's the story. And it's fabulous craftsmanship. It's amazing story. It's another person who just does this for the love of horology, wants to build something different. And at one point or another, Tim, I'm going to own one of these. I'm going to figure out a way to own one of these, not necessarily these. Now, that's important to note, too. There's a Jules Verne collection, which we will be bringing out later. And we're actually working with Flavio right now to come up with some new ideas. He started with Leonardo, of course, one of the most famous Italians ever, Leonardo da Vinci, the true Renaissance man. The term Renaissance man was coined.
To me, he is the personification of the word genius defined properly.
Absolutely. So, it was completely reasonable for him to start with the works of Leonardo. Jules Verne, obviously one of the greatest authors. A lot of color in those, actually. We're talking about, and I don't know, I'm going to leave it. I'm not going to say yet. We've got some really cool ideas for other things. Obviously, they'll be Italian in origin, and we've got some cool other ideas for making these, but they will always be only 3. So what am I missing? What am I leaving out?
I don't think you mentioned sapphire crystal, which again, of course, it is, because these are all handmade. There's only 3 in the world, and now this one, as we mentioned, only 1. Craig, I did want to mention that Talk About Watches is, of course, attending the Basel Watch Fair this year. We are going to be doing some live updates from there. We are going to be shooting a series of shows for you. Now, because of the time difference, and frankly, because of internet connections, we may not always be able to do them live. So we're going to be putting together a series of shows that will be shot live in Basel. And the reason I'm bringing this up now, A, I want you to know, B, if, we haven't done it yet, but if it goes as planned, that Meccanica has arranged for the artist to attend the fair for a day, and we're actually going to have the opportunity to get him on camera creating one of the dials. So you guys will have even greater insight as to what is going on. But
and actually, we can tell them what that one is, because they're going to know that soon.
Go ahead.
They're going to be old Ferraris.
Yes, I'd forgotten that, actually. Yeah, so we're going to start doing the homages to some of the great classic Italian cars. There's some beautiful stuff that is in the work, and we're obviously all very excited. But Craig, when you told this story so beautifully, I mean, it's very important that this be at the core, the Swiss mechanical automatic, and it is, and it has to be handmade, and it has to have the sapphire, and all of that is true. But it is the literal rarity of this piece, along with the hand creation, that I think makes this it's frankly an outstanding, I know this sounds odd, but it's an outstanding buy at this kind of a price point.
I often think the term grail is overused with watches at times.
Including by me, probably sometimes.
And by me, but I mean, and when I think of a grail, I think of something somebody's been trying to get for a long time and couldn't get, because that's the idea. But nevertheless, this will be a watch, if grail is not the right word, this will be a watch that will it'll have an honored place in your collection. And if it's something that's a stretch for you to buy because of the cost, or maybe you're someone who, dropping $3,000 on a watch is no big deal. Either way, this is gonna be a treasured piece in your collection. I mean, they're gorgeous. They
really are. I would have this on in a second. I'm actually, out of respect for whoever is purchasing this tonight, I'm deliberately not putting this on.
Right.
It's your watch. It's not my watch. It almost was my watch. I came really close to buying this. But it's your watch to take out and to put on. So the only time that it will have been out of this is to do the various cutaway shots that you've been seeing. Obviously, we took it out to do that. It was handled very, very carefully. You should also know, no one in the TAW staff handled this but me. It has been very carefully vaulted when it hasn't been shot, and we have taken supreme care of it. So it will be absolutely pristine when you get it. I do want to reference the price very quickly. I know at the top of the show I talked about this too. Something you might want to look at to help you out with this is PayPal credit, because if you qualify, you can actually have this with no payments and no interest for the next 6 months. and it's not a layaway. We're still going to get you your watch right away. So if that can help, that's on the last page of our checkout, and by all means, please use it. Craig, I'd like to turn this back over to you for final thoughts. I'm just so thrilled that this has been part of our presentation and part of the TAW lineup tonight.
Well, I'm so excited. We finally, we've been trying to, make this work in some way or another for so long now. I think the only thing I would just reiterate, because we didn't spend a lot of time on it, is all the other things you would come to expect from a watch at this price point and so forth. They're there. I mean, it's the surgical grade steel. It's the sapphire crystal. I will tell you, this one's 5 ATM. It's making no pretense of being a dive watch. It's 5 ATM, which, by the way, is fine. But it's just so that you make sure it's not going to have any water issues. This is I couldn't imagine somebody wanting to swim with this watch anyway. It's such a special piece. It's high grade Italian leather. All the other things, the packaging is fantastic. You've been seeing Tim hold up this beautiful wooden handmade packaging that they have for it.
Yeah, I don't think either of us mentioned that is actually the packaging, but of course it is. Otherwise, you have to assume I went out and made it. So I didn't. No, again, the packaging handmade. Even the lid is engraved. I mean, this is spectacular work.
This is the word artisan. This is an artisan work,
right?
And both people involved in this, there are other people in the Meccanica Grezza organization, but Flavio and Pablo, and I can't remember his last name off the top of my head, but anyway, the professor who's also the artist, they are two artisans who came together to create something that separately they couldn't have created. You have the watch guy who understands the mechanics of building a watch, the architect with the mechanical mind. You've got the professor who's the artist, and you can tell by that picture how he dresses. I mean, he's an artist. So this is an artisan collaboration. I think that's what really matters. And this could be any other product, Tim. I mean, they could have decided to do something else. They could have decided to go into making, I don't know, really nice wallets. I can't think of an example. But the point
I would say another handmade car.
Or yeah. They wanted to do this in watches. And the artist sees that dial as his canvas. So maybe that's a good place to leave it at.
I think it is. And we will wrap up on that note. We've got people considering this, and obviously all of them. We've only shown you two, of course, tonight. So I'm not going to announce this sold out yet till we absolutely have it confirmed. In the meantime, if you need additional information, you can hit us up, info@talkaboutwatches.com. But you need to do that very quickly. If you are actually catching this during the live broadcast, hit the questions off to the side, and I will certainly try to have one of our staff get to you right away, because when these are gone, and there is only 3 for the world, obviously, that we can't have this on an ongoing basis.
No.
We'll have others of a series at some point, but never again this one. Craig, thank you so much for joining us tonight. And again, very quickly, guys, what we talked about as we recap this, we opened with a very quick presentation on that 5 veneer exotic wood watch box that is still available. True, not very many of them left. But if you haven't considered this yet, I urge you to do so. It is, I'll put it this way, I got one for myself. It's absolutely exquisite. It stores up to 20 watches. Each slot is 62 millimeter, and it's one for $279. You can double down on that for just $399 shipping included. And then, of course, Craig, you showed us the DELTAt, and obviously we finished up with the Meccanica Grezza.
I don't know if you and I will be able to do another show before Basel, but for sure we'll have the stuff we're going to be doing in Berlin and Basel.
Well, exactly. There's a lot of, and by the way, I believe I'm correct in saying this is going to be the first international live event for wristwatches, as we are updating you guys in real time. So we're excited about that. Obviously, if you have additional questions about the DELTAt or the Meccanica, as I stated, get a hold of us. Craig, thanks again. Thank you, everybody in the audience, and for supporting us here at Talk About Watches and letting us do what we do. We are very grateful for all of you. So truly, thank you. My name is Tim. You guys have a great evening, and we'll see you back here really soon on another edition of Talk About Watches Live. Be well, everybody.